Huh.
Our feet, we take them for granted. We use them all the time. We walk on them. We run on them. We jump on them. We kick with them. Sometimes we dance with them, but we take them for granted and never even think about them until we do something like stubbing a toe or get plantar fasciitis or some kind of foot pain. Sometimes we take them for granted because they play a role that we don't think a lot about. Our feet are the foundation for our whole skeleton, particularly our hips and spine. And if our feet are off or causing trouble, then they cause trouble elsewhere. And it can take some work to track that back to the root cause, which may very well be a problem with our feet. Our feet have three arches in them. The medial arch that we all know about, the lateral arch, which is less known, and the transverse arch, which is also less known. All three arches are important and they serve a couple different roles. One, they're the foundation, like I just mentioned. Two, they're shock absorbers. Our arches are a little bit like the leaf springs in the bed of a truck. They're made to give. When we walk and our heel hits the ground, that produces a shock of about 5 Gs, 5 times our body weight. If we run, it's 9 or 10 Gs. That's a lot of force. And if you do the math, just simply walking through the course of the day, our feet, our arches, are designed to absorb up to 9 million pounds of force every day. If the arches aren't working right, if they're too low or too high or locked, if they're pronated or supinated, they cause problems. That shock, that 9 million pounds of shock just from walking all day, has to go somewhere. And instead of being absorbed by the arches, that shock is transmitted up the shins and into the knee, the hips, and the spine. Those joints are not made to absorb that kind of shock. And they cause trouble. It causes trouble in the knees. No wonder there's so many knee problems, so many hip replacements, so many spinal problems. And that can all be, many of those can be tracked back to malfunctioning arches. So it's important to know if your arches are functioning well or not, and if they're not, you got to fix that. At Delta Chiropractic Center, we do a scan of our arches. We do a computerized electronic scan of the bare foot in weight-bearing station that tells us if the arches are pronated or supinated, and from that we can give some exercises or recommend orthotics to support the arch and rebuild it. So that's an important thing. The scan just takes a few minutes. You stand on one foot with your weight balanced, and it scans your foot. Then you shift and scan the other foot in balanced weight position, and it produces a computer scan that tells us exactly how the arches are functioning. If there's a problem, that scan, that information can be digitally transferred to a company that builds an orthotic, or maybe it's just a matter of doing some exercises to rebuild proper function in the arches of the foot. Very important. A couple things to keep in mind about arch supports. If you're going to get orthotics, don't get rigid plastic arch supports. They may be cheap, they may last forever, but they don't do the job. The plastic rigid arch supports build the arch up, but then they lock it in so that the arch is built up, but it can't flex like it's made to. The shock absorption doesn't happen, so it's the same problem we started with, just with an arch artificially supported. You want to get a flexible arch support, so that's something to watch for if you're going to get supports or orthotics anywhere but from here, where I know we do it right. So that's a little bit of information on foot, on arches, and the importance of them. I hope you'll take that information to heart. We're going to do another video on plantar fasciitis specifically, so watch for that. There'll be a little bit more information in there. So good luck, good arches, and good health. Thanks.
Huh.